And to think I was afraid to come here. And it's not because of you, it's because 10 years ago I was traveling so much that my daughter, who was 6 years old at the time, actually decided to write me a note. And I keep it with me. Now imagine if you received this. It says, "Dear Daddy, I miss you. You are the best daddy in my whole family." I gotta be honest, up until I got that note, I thought I was the only daddy in the whole family. And maybe I should stay off the road and make sure no more daddies are coming through my family. Well, that's just part of being the world champion. Being the world champion is a blessing and a, you said it. If you had been walking towards me in the Chicago airport 2 days after I won the world championship, you would have seen my wife on one side of me and me carrying this gigantic crystal trophy, just walking through the Chicago airport. And everybody's looking at me like, wow, who is that? Honey, is that Denzel Washington? See, you didn't have to laugh that hard. But this is when I realized my life would never be the same. This petite lady in a pink dress runs up to me in the middle of the airport. Everybody's watching. And she starts reading the bottom of my trophy. She says, 1999 World Champion of Public Speaking. Wow. Say some things. And I was speechless. But that's when I realized no matter where I go in life, people are going to say, would you mind saying some things? So I came to a fundamental understanding about my life and really about yours too. When it comes to speaking, I can no longer get ready to speak. I have to stay ready to speak. My new motto is don't get ready, stay ready. Do you like that motto? Yes. Good. If you don't, I'm going to sell it to Viagra. I'm just saying I need a sponsor. But I'm glad you clapped for me. I really am. Because some people don't like me. You know why? Because I joined Toastmasters in March of 1998. Got my CTM in March of 1999 and won the world championship in August of 1999 in my very first try. Now, I can tell you're impressed. I can tell you're impressed. Okay, Chloe, go ahead and clap. You clap, but can you feel the haters in the room? Because people come up to me all the time. They say, Craig, you don't even know what it feels like to lose a contest. Yes, I do. See, I lost the humorous speech contest at the club level. Thank you for laughing at my misery. And I'll never forget a seasoned Toastmaster named Alan Mish came up to me afterwards, and he said, Craig, you can win the world championship of public speaking. I said, what are you talking about? I just lost a humorous speech contest at the club level. He said, that's okay. He said, the only thing wrong with your humorous speech was that it wasn't funny. You ever given a speech you wish you could take back? I promise you that will happen much less often after today. Because you're about to pick up some tools you can use to keep your audience on the edge of their seats and make them glad they came. Are you glad you're here? Yeah. See, the tools work. So first you're going to pick up some ideas on how to craft your message, then how to deliver your message, and then how to sell your message so people take the exact next step you want them to take. Craft, deliver, sell. Let's start with craft. How do you craft a message? You already know from your experience in Toastmasters the importance of telling a story and making a point. Bill Gove, first president of NSA, made that clear. Tell a story and make a point. For example, I can stand up here and say, you need to live your dream and you need to do this, or I can say this. What do you think is the number one thing that stands between most people living their dream? What do you think it is? Fear. Fear of what? Failure. Okay. What else? What's another thing that stands between people living their dream? You've seen me speak before. What's another thing? Not identifying what their dream is. These are all great answers, and money. These are all great answers, and they're all wrong. They're not wrong. They're just not, in my opinion, the number one thing that stands in the way. See, I used to work for an internet company, and I wanted to go full-time into professional speaking. That was my goal. That was my dream. Raise your hand if you have a goal or a dream. Raise your hand if you want to do anything in life. Me too. So I went to the vice president of this company. He was a young guy, good-looking guy, looked like a young David Beckham. And I said, look, John, I'm going to be leaving because it's always been my dream to be a full-time professional speaker. He said, that's your dream, Craig? I said, yes, it is. He said, well, that's great. I really admire you for having one, but you can't leave. I said, hold on, what do you mean I can't leave? He said, well, Craig, we've been thinking about it, and we're going to raise your salary up to this. Now, salary means the same thing where you come from, right? And you see my dilemma. I said, John, this is not a financial decision. This is about my dream. In fact, I call this a dream decision. He said, okay, I understand, I really do. But how about if we raise your salary up to this? I said, this is not a financial decision, this is a dream decision. Do you know he raised it 4 times? I kid you not, he kept saying, we're going to raise your salary to this. I said, this is not a financial decision, this is a dream decision. He said, okay, Craig, how about if we raise your salary to well above $100,000? I said, dreams are overrated. Come on now, 6 figures? Back then? Shoot, that's good money today. I could fill up my gas tank for a week on that kind of salary. I said, but John, before I say yes, I got to go home and talk to my wife. So I went home to my wife. I said, honey, I don't know what to do. What should I do? What should I do? And my wife looked up at me with her big brown eyes and said, take the money, fool. You like my wife, don't you? But if you've been sitting beside my wife and me just a few moments later on our old beat-up black leather sofa with the chocolate chip cookies baking in the background, you would have heard her say something that can absolutely change your life. And I know it because it changed mine. She said, Craig, this is all you've ever wanted. Ever since we met, this is all you've ever talked about. I don't care how much they try to compensate you, your dream is not for sale. That's deep, isn't it? Have you sold out? It's deep because most people think the number one thing that stands between them and their dreams is some kind of bad obstacle, a lack of time, lack of energy, lack of money. That's not it. The number one thing that stands between most people living their dreams is not something bad, it's something good that they settle for. A good job, a good relationship, a good life. Did you realize that sometimes the enemy of the best is the good? So let me ask you a question. When it comes to your presentations, are you too good to be great? I looked at my wife, I said, see, girl, that's why I married you. My dream is not for sale. That's what you said. And I walked back in there the next day, and I looked that vice president in his eyes, and I was firm. I looked him directly in his face, and I was bold, and I said to him, my wife said my dream is not for sale. And I left. And that very year, I spoke over 160 times in 44 states and 5 countries, and I'm happy to say I've been running my mouth ever since. But there's nothing special about me. There's something very special about the advice my wife gave me. No matter how good you are at what you do, don't let the good get in the way of the best. And no matter where you are in your life at this very moment, just remember the words of my wife. Your dream is not for sale. Your dream is not for sale. Tell a story, make a point. What was the point of that story? Your dream? It's not for sale. You're going to remember it. You're going to repeat it. I was in Mysore, India, giving a presentation. And the next day, a newspaper was slid under my door. I picked it up. There was a big picture of me on the front. And the headline read, your dream is definitely not for sale. You're going to be remembered. You're going to be repeated. Tell a story, make a point. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen a story that was all over the place? Have you ever given one? Me too. And it's because the speaker doesn't start crafting his message in the right place. One of the first things you need to do when you start to craft your message is come up with what I call, write this down, a foundational phrase. A foundational phrase. Now, what's a foundational phrase? Your dream is not for sale. What's a foundational phrase? Don't get ready. Stay ready. Another story I tell, what's the foundational phrase? Average leaders place blame, exceptional leaders take it. What do you notice about those phrases? They're short. Write this down. Your foundational phrase should be fewer than 10 words. Why? It's easier for who to remember? And who else? You got to remember it too. But here's the real reason why it should be fewer than 10 words. because it forces you to be crystal clear on what your message is. Make no mistake about it, the number one reason a speaker won't get his message across is because he's not crystal clear on his message. Fewer than 10 words forces you to be crystal clear. Now let me ask you a question. You ever wondered what to keep in your speech and what to keep out? Write this down. The phrase determines what stays. The phrase determines what stays. If what you say supports your foundational phrase, keep it in. If it doesn't, toss it out. Now, one more. What does this mean? No phrase, no stage. What's that mean? Yell it out. No phrase, no stage. What does that mean? If you don't have a foundational phrase for your story, don't take it to the stage yet because you're not ready. So the question is, what do I do? The answer is, take it to Toastmasters. They will give you a foundational, they'll tell you some other things too, but they'll give you a foundational phrase. I'll give you an example. I had a story I wanted to tell, but I couldn't tell it because I didn't have a point. Here's the example. You ever gone to a drive-through restaurant, placed your order, and been misunderstood? All right, now for legal purposes, I can't mention the name of this restaurant, but its initials are K, F, and C. Now imagine being in my passenger seat when this actually happened. I'm driving through the KFC. I get to the intercom. The lady says, "Welcome to KFC. How may I help you?" I said, "Yes, I would like 3 thighs." She said, "Small or large?" What would you say to that? How do you? What came out of my mouth was, "Do you have large thighs?" I'm gonna recommend that you never ask anyone that question. And she came back and says, "Yes, we have small and large sides. How may I help you?" But by now, I'm just rolling over in embarrassment. And I called a friend of mine that night, and he said, "Craig, what you say is not always what they hear." Boom. Guess what I have now? A foundational phrase I can use moving forward. I told that story a couple weeks ago, and some lady stood up and said, "It's a good thing you didn't order breasts." What I'm saying to you, it's a collaborative effort. Don't try to create your speech in a vacuum. Here's another example. Years ago, when my daughter was 6 years old, she came to me, she said, Daddy, I want a bunk bed." I said, "What for? You're one person." But here's the problem. I bought her a bunk bed, but here's the problem. My son Ace, who was 3 at the time, climbed to the top. And I said, "Ace, you're only 3 years old. You might fall. You might hurt yourself. You're not allowed to go up there anymore. Okay, buddy?" He said, "Okay, Daddy." Raise your hand if you're a parent. You already know. I came home the next day. Where was he? Yeah. So I said, "Ace, you're only 3 years old. You might fall and hurt yourself. I told you you're not allowed to be up there. What are you doing up there? What are you doing up there?" He said, "Coming down." It's a great answer. I love the boy. I love the story. I didn't have a point. I took it to Toastmasters that night. They didn't have a point. Only later, somebody called me and said, "Craig, I got one for you." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Sometimes you have to ignore your parents to get to the top." And I hung up on him. Sometimes you get a phrase you don't like. But it is a collaborative effort. I always say this, you can't create a message without first creating a mess. If you look at the word message and split it up, it's just a mess with age. It's a mess that over time and over collaboration and over coaching becomes a message. And here's the proof. We're going to play a game right now. And here's what the game is called. Find the phrase. And here's how it works. You're going to hear a quick story from me. You're going to partner with one person. And within 60 seconds, you're going to come up with the best foundational phrase you can, fewer than how many words? All right, and there's a prize in it for you. What a lot of people don't realize is I just recently did a whole program called How to Create Your Legendary Keynote, right? And it's all about creating keynotes that can get you paid over and over and over again. It's $297, but guess what? Whoever gets the best foundational phrase in here gets access to that for life. Yeah, I got people looking at me like, "Craig, I want to switch partners." Here's the story, you come up with the point. 1997, I'm flying back from Los Angeles to Baltimore. It's a 5-hour flight. I sit down on the flight. Guy sits down next to me. And I remember thinking, this guy looks kind of like me, just a slightly older version. I wonder what he does in life. Now, if you fly a lot, you'll appreciate this. The first 4.5 hours of the flight, what do you think we do? We say absolutely nothing to each other. The last half hour of the flight, he turns to me and he says, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm fine. No, I've actually been here the whole time." He said, "I'm sorry I didn't talk to you earlier, but I didn't want to talk to you and find out you were boring and then be stuck talking to a boring person for 5 hours." And oddly enough, I understood because I'm kind of the same way. But how do people try to start a conversation with you on a flight? What are some of the things they say? What do you do? Where are you from? Where are you going? Like, hopefully we're going to the same place. Drop me off over Denver. He didn't say any of that. It felt like he was looking through me. And he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, right now I'm an events planner. Eventually I'd like to be a professional speaker." I said, "Why? What do you do?" He said, "I'm a professional speaker." I said, "You are?" He says, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I am the #1 gospel comedian in the United States of America." I said, "Man, I didn't even know there was such thing as a gospel comedian." He said, "That's why I'm #1. Now, there's more to the story, but you don't need it. With what you got right there, you can come up with the best foundational phrase, fewer than 10 words, in 60 seconds. One partner, ready, go. All right, time's up. My 60 seconds are always more like 45. You got one? All right, listen, if you don't play, you can't win. So I'm just going to call on a few people and see if they can get me one. Hold on, it's not on. Can we make this hot? If not, we got to get real close. You ready? Let's get real close. Here we go. Here's the mic. Here's the mic right here. Here's the mic.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Right. I'm trying to give him my mic. He's giving me hugs. Here we go.
Take advantage of every moment.
I love it. Take advantage of every moment. I love it. Good. What you get?
Heaven can wait.
You say heaven can wait? Heaven can wait. It's a movie. I love it. Yes.
You never know what's sitting right beside you.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Isn't that sweet? That's good. I like it.
Your dream may be right next to you.
A little flirty there.
What you perceive is not always the truth.
Oh, I like it. What you perceive is not always the truth. One or two more.
Carve your niche, achieve your dream.
Say again.
Carve your niche, achieve your dream.
Carve your niche, achieve your dream. All right. I can't come way back there. I'm sorry. Two more.
Chance encounters can lead to chance opportunities.
I love it. All right.
You can be #1 if you're the only.
Okay, now listen. Now, we're playing jazz together now, right? We're playing jazz together. How about this? You're #1 if you're the only one. How about that? Oh, we got one now. All right, let's see if we have one more that's better.
Take the next step anyway.
That was great. Great, give her a hand. We have a winner. Right here, what's your name? Eileen, give Eileen a hand. Come see me afterwards. So what I would do is I would finish that story, and after you laugh, watch what happens. After you laugh, watch what happens. You're gonna have to laugh again, okay? I'm gonna tell the last line. I want you to laugh like you did the first time, maybe even more than you did the first time. Ready? That's why I'm #1. You're #1 when you're the only one. All right, give her a hand. Good. Tell a story, make a point, foundational phrase, fewer than 10 words. Craft. Let's look at some ideas on how to deliver your message. I need a volunteer. There might be a prize in it for you. Now, before I do that, raise your hand if you've seen me speak before or this is your first time. First time? Come on up. Let's give her a hand. Toastmasters, we keep clapping until she gets up. What's your name?
Michelle.
Michelle. Okay, Michelle, this is what I want you to do. I want you to look out and pretend this is your audience, and I want you to find out how many of them have ever been to Baltimore. So what would you do? What would you say?
Have you ever been to Baltimore? Let me see a show of hands.
Good. Let me stop you before you go into your own keynote speech. That was great, right? Really good. Give her a hand. How would you like a tool that you can use to make a deeper connection than you ever had before? If so, just say yes. Okay, then this is a slight edge principle, which means it's a slight change in the way you do something, but if you do it throughout your entire presentation, what a difference in how they'll feel your message. Not just hear it, but feel your message. So Michelle, when your audience members leave your speech, hopefully at the end, do you want them to leave thinking, whoa, I really felt like I was part of a group? Or do you want them to leave thinking, whoa, it really felt like Michelle was speaking directly to me? What do you want, A or B?
B.
When Michelle said show of hands, how many people was she speaking to?
Everyone.
Everybody. How many people should she speak to? So how can Michelle rephrase her question to make it sound and feel grammatically like she's speaking to one rather than 800? Have you been to Baltimore? Can you imagine? Should you, would you, could you? Singular grammatically. Write this down, it will change your public speaking life. Speak to one, but look to all. Speak to one, but look to all. There are far too many speakers speaking to far too many people far too often. And you'll see them, they'll say things like ladies and gentlemen, and friends, and folks, and boys and girls, and societal members, and members of the committee. You might as well be saying friends, Romans, cut, stop. Speak to one. You ever heard a speaker say, now some of you might be thinking, guess what? There is no some of you. Now you might be thinking, difference. Some of you might be thinking, well, many of you came to the conclusion. Guess what? There is no many of you. Now, in case you've come to the conclusion, speak to one. And I have a technique you can use. It's called the hallway test. If you can walk by one person in the hallway and say it to him or her, you can take it up on stage. So Michelle and I are going to walk by each other in the hallway, and let's just see how this works. Ready? How many of you have ever been to Baltimore? Unless she's Sybil and has 8 personalities, we got a problem. Come on back here for a second. I might get in trouble for saying this, but trust me, it was not my fault. I did the same activity in Tampa, Florida, and I brought a lady up on stage, and I didn't realize that she was wearing some things that were very, very revealing. And apparently she had a lot to reveal. And she was also very short. It wasn't my fault, but it didn't look right when I walked by and said, how many of you have ever been to Baltimore? Everybody started laughing. I didn't know. So next time I said, oh, have you ever been to Baltimore? I fixed it. I fixed it. You got to be aware. But if we can speak to one, let's see what happens. Ready? Have you ever been to Baltimore?
Yes.
See, now we can connect. Okay? You have the lesson?
Yes.
Go ahead and rephrase your question.
Have you ever been to Baltimore?
Good. Don't look at me. I've been there. That was great because what she did was she looked at everybody. A lot of times people forget and they just do the speak to one part and it looks like this. You ever been to Baltimore? How about you? You been to Baltimore? It's going to take you a long time to get through the audience on that one. All right, let's give Michelle a hand. Got the lesson. Thank you. Michelle's looking at me like, where's my prize? It's a surprise. I'll give it to you afterwards. All right. When it comes to delivering, you also have to remember there's a timeline out of the floor, right? And in English-speaking countries, we read the timeline from left to right. So do you remember this? I joined Toastmasters in March of 1998. I got my CTM in March of 1999 and won the World Championship in August of 1999. I created and walked my timeline. What does this allow me to do later in the speech? Yeah, I can do a visual and verbal callback and say, but what if I had never joined Toastmasters, where would I be today? So there's a lot that you can do up on stage. Patricia Fripp taught me something very important before she charged me. She said, Craig, people won't remember what you say as much as they'll remember what they see when you say it. You got to make everything very, very visual. Darren, where are you? Darren LaCroix, are you here? Hey, Darren LaCroix, give me a hand. Darren LaCroix and I do a lot of workshops together, and we see this often. People will talk about a story where they're on the phone, and it's like, I was on the phone last week, and I was talking to my neighbor, and we were like, what year was this? Right? Next thing you know, you're going to be dialing rotary like this. It's like, what year is it? So what you do is you got to mimic correctly. You take your phone up to your ear, you pull it off, there's your phone. Sometimes we're working with people, they're like, I was driving down the road the other day. We're like, what spaceship were you driving? One time we had a lady named Carmelita in Ontario, and she got up to speak and she said, when I was young, my hobby was beating up boys. And I would take them by the ears. And I would twist their heads. And Darren said, were you fighting Shrek? I'm in Guangzhou, China. I was in Guangzhou, China. I brought a lady up on stage. This is exactly what she did. She said, I went to my 4-year-old daughter and I said, honey, I'm in China, so I was like, is your daughter Yao Ming? What's happening here? So you got to mimic correctly. So look for that in this next story. You want to speak to one, you want to mimic correctly. Raise your hand if you've ever been in a contest before. When I won the club level, then won the area level, I was going to division. And they were holding it in the Red Cross building in Baltimore City. So I went into the elevator. I'm going to go from the first floor to the third floor. And as soon as I got in the elevator, a guy got in next to me. And he looked like he could be a minister or a preacher or something like that. And the moment he saw me, he said, you're in the contest, aren't you? I said, yes, I am. And without saying anything else, he reached into a satchel, pulled out a bottle of oil, unscrewed it, dipped his finger in it, and started walking towards me. And dabbed me in the forehead. And before I could say anything, he looked at me and he said, I've just anointed you. I said, thanks. He said, no, you don't understand. I'm a man of faith. What I just did was very important. I've just anointed you. You're going to be the one who makes it. I'll be honest with you. I had no idea what was going on. Plus, I'm black, so I was like, am I ashy? What's happening here? I don't understand. What? And he just kept saying, I've anointed you, I've anointed you, I've anointed you. Thankfully, the third floor came. And I hopped off that thing, and everybody's giving their presentation, and then it's my turn. And in the middle of my contest speech, my mind goes blank. Keep in mind, this is a contest. If my mind went blank today, I would just say to you, where were we? You can't do that in a contest. You got to be almost darn near perfect. So I didn't know what to do, and I gave up. And I just started looking around the room. And then my eyes latched onto his. And at that exact moment, everything came rushing back. And I picked up where I left off. Now, here's the interesting thing. The moment I lost my mind, I was supposed to pause. I don't know if I was supposed to pause that long, but I was supposed to pause. So I finished the speech, and afterwards, the contest master comes up and says, and the winner of the division contest is Craig Valentine. And all these people rushed the stage, and you know what the first thing they said was? They were like, man, the reason you won? That pause. Oh my goodness. That pause was amazing. That's an amazing pause. And all I could think of was, well, you know, I am anointed. Woo. But he never claimed me. There are a lot of people who said, I helped Craig Valentine win the world championship who didn't. He helped me. He never claimed me. In fact, I've never seen him in my life again. He just came into my life, lifted it, and left. Isn't it appropriate that we met in an elevator? Because he met me at one level and left me at another. I'm looking for a foundational phrase for that story. But did you see the vision? Where's the elevator? Point to it. Where's the elevator? Good. Where's the contest? Good. Where's my son on top of the bunk bed? You still see him. Very visual. Got to make it very visual. So you have ideas on how to craft your message, how to deliver your message. Let's look at how to sell your message so people take the exact next step you want them to take. Nod your head if you agree with me on this. When you're in speaking, you're in sales. When you're in leadership, you're in sales. If you're in parenting, you're in sales. Because what do you have to sell? Yeah. The best speakers embrace it, the worst ones avoid it. And here's the sad part. You only have to master one formula. And this is it. Never sell a product, always sell what? The results. Never sell a service, always sell the results. In leadership, never sell an idea, always sell the results. You can sing along now. In leadership, never sell change, always sell the results. If you're going for an interview, never sell yourself. You know, I have 15 years of experience. Nobody cares. Always sell the case in point. Decades ago, I went to buy my first car ever in life. And I went to the dealership. And the salesperson came up to me and he said, "Are you looking at that car?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Great. Let me tell you about it. This car has these types of engines, this type of motor, this type of window, this type of this type of..." What's he trying to sell me? The car. I just said, never sell a product, always sell the... So I said, "Thank you, but no thank you. I'm not interested." I went to a different dealership, same day, different salesperson, same car. Now, I got to be honest, this guy must have anticipated where I was mentally at that point in my life, you know, young and single and looking to mingle. And feel free to use that one. And so he walks up to me, he says, "Are you looking at that car?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You're gonna look good in that one." He said, "Yeah, man, you'll be flying down the road, the wind's gonna be blowing through your hair, and the girls, let me tell you, the girls will be all over you." What do you think I did? I said, "Where do I sign?" He made the sale not because he sold me the car, but he sold me what? The results. And he lied. I was lonely in that car. Just me and my payment. So don't lie, but definitely don't sell the product, the idea, or yourself. Always sell the results. Raise your hand if a year from now you'd like to be at least 3 times better than the presenter you are today. Good. Then for free, for absolutely no fee, you can go to one of my websites, which is 52speakingtips.com. Bless you. That's 52speakingtips.com. And every week for a year, you're going to get an audio lesson from me. And at the end of that year, you're going to be at least 3 times better than the speaker you are today. Now stop right there. What was the result? What was the resource? The website. Which one did I mention first? Somebody said free. But it was the result. Here's the addition to that formula. Never sell a product, always sell the result. Always put the result before the resource. Always state the result before the request. I'll be honest with you, if I did it the way most people, most leaders do, it would have sounded like this. Raise your hand if you'd like to receive 52 emails from me. I don't think my opt-in rate would be as high. Okay? So never sell a product, always sell the result, always put the result before the resource. In leadership, always state the result before the request. Now, here's something else we need to know about selling our message. I need you to do it in an activity. So I need you to stand up, grab a partner, and don't make me define grab. Stand up and face a partner. Stand up and face a partner. All right. Now, I need you, listen up, I need you to turn around so you cannot see your partner. Turn around so you cannot see your partner. Somebody said thank you. All right, now, I want you to change 12 things about your own appearance. Change 12 things about your own appearance. All right, hold on. Hold on. When he went for his belt, I had to change the rules. And hold on. Listen, change any two things about your own appearance. You could put your collar up or down, your name tag on differently. Change any two things about your own appearance. All right? And turn around and see if you can figure out what changed on your partner. All right? Clap one time if you can hear me. 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 All right, listen up. I need you to turn around one more time so you cannot see your partner. Turn around one more time so you cannot see your partner, and just change one more thing. Just change one more thing. Ready, go. Change one more thing. Okay, and turn around and see if you can figure out what changed on your partner. Got it? All right, be seated, be seated. Be seated. Be seated, be seated. Clap one time if you can hear me. Clap one time if you can hear me. Be seated. All right, very good. Let me come around and see if you have some answers. What was that activity about? Raise your hand if you said observation. Okay, good. That's very wrong. That's very wrong. It's not about observation. What was it about? Say again. Awareness. Absolutely not it either. Okay? Good try, though. Hey, he got it. He got it. Say it again. Change. Think about it. I know how you looked at me, but how did you feel when I said change 12 things about your own appearance? Yeah. Michelle's looking at me like, Craig, I don't even have 12 things on. I didn't know it was that kind of conference. Hey, don't even laugh. Some people looked way too anxious to start taking off 12 things. I said, oh. How did you feel when I said change any two things? Much better, right? Then I said change one more thing. You could do it, couldn't you? Here's what I guarantee you. I could have kept saying change one more thing, change one more thing, change one more, until you got up to 12, you would have found a way, you would have been okay. So what was the problem with my request? Too much too soon. The old leadership principle behind this is don't change everything at once, but change small and change often. Change small and change often. But the public speaking implication is this. Too many speakers try to get across too much information in too little time. Have you seen it? Have you done it? Me too. And it's because the speaker doesn't start understanding that less is more. Less is more. I'd rather give you 3 tools that you pick up than 10 tools that you forget. It's so prevalent that there's an old speaker proverb that says when you squeeze your information in, you squeeze your audience out. So you have some ideas on how to craft your message, how to deliver your message, and how to sell your message. I was going to go into one thing, but I'm not going to do it. I'll do it at the speaker showcase. I have about an 8-minute speech I'll give you there if you're willing. But I want to tell you one thing before I close up. It was 20 years and 1 day ago that I won the world championship. You might know my glory, but you don't know my story. Because I used to be that events manager for technology expos around the country at government bases and institutions. And my job was to set up the stage for the speakers. All the while wanting to be the speaker myself. So I would put down the chairs and move the chairs around. I would lay down the power. I would set up the lectern. I'd move more chairs. But it never failed. Anytime I went into one of those empty ballrooms, I would go and stand behind the lectern or the podium, and I would look out and imagine that one day people would show up to see me. And I always had the same thing I said to myself, and I knew I'd be sharing that story one day. The same thing I say to myself every time would be this. Today I move the chairs, tomorrow I move the audience. So to see if you've been moved today, before I wrap up, I want you to take 30 seconds, turn to your neighbor, tell them one idea you got out of this program. 30 seconds, ready, go. Time's up. Time's up. All right. Raise your hand if you have one or yell it out. What'd you have?
Don't sell the products, sell the results.
Never sell the product, always sell the result. Good.
Change small and change often.
Change small, change often. Gracie.
Sometimes you have to ignore your parents to get to the top.
You hear that, Mom? Yes.
Tell a story, make a point.
Tell a story, make a point. Bill Gove. Who else has one? Yes.
You may know my glory, you don't know my story.
You may know my glory, you don't know my story. Good. Yes.
Your dream is not for sale.
Your dream is not for sale. Thank my wife for that one. Yes.
We met at one level, but raised each other to another level.
That's right. That's what I call the elevator approach to leadership. Make sure it's going up, though. All right. Yes.
Take one step at a time.
Take one step at a time. Good.
Your message is a mess with age.
With age. Collaboration and coaching. Excuse me.
Speak to one, look to all.
Speak to one, look to all. Don't speak to one, look to one. Okay? Speak to one, look to all. Good. Any more?
Don't get ready, stay ready.
Sponsored by? No. Oh, yes. Yes. I should have a runner, shouldn't I? Yes.
Change doesn't happen in a jiffy, so it happens one by one. So you need to be consistent in that. It cannot happen in one shot.
That's right. One by one.
One by one.
One by one, absolutely. All right. Stand up and yell. No phrase, no stage. Will you help me out? Thank you.
Craig Valentine is one of the greatest teachers ever.
Oh.
Give it up for Craig.
I miss you. Love you, bro. Love you. All right. So has it been helpful? Okay. Then I just want to close with this. You might look at me and say, well, Craig, of course all these strategies work for you because when it comes to speaking, you're a natural. But nothing can be further from the truth. I'm the least likely person of anybody in this room to be a world champion of public speaking. I'm the least likely person of anybody in this room to be a leader or communicator of any kind. Because when I was 10 years old, something very disturbing happened to me for a 10-year-old. I was walking in the Columbia Mall where I lived. I mean, I didn't live in the mall. You understand what I'm saying? And I ran into a father of one of my friends. I'll refer to him as Mr. H. And Mr. H came up to me. I'm 10 years old by myself. And he looked at me and he said, hey, little Craigie, how you doing? And I told him. And he said, what's going on in your life? And I told him, but he kept looking at me really strange. And then finally, he looked down at me and told me that I had a lisp. You know what a lisp is? A speech impediment. Here are his exact words. He said, Craigie, don't talk anymore, because every time you open your mouth, you remind me of Daffy Duck. What does that do to a 10-year-old kid? My confidence, my esteem, everything plummeted. And for the next 4 or 5 years, you couldn't get a word out of me. The popular motivational speaker Les Brown says, when you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And I didn't want people making fun of me. But finally, after about 4 or 5 years, when I forced myself to face reality and I started going through what I now call my 4 R's to remarkable results, I can stand before you today as the 1999 world champion of public speaking. And that's not even the best part. Here's the best part, and I promise you this. The same people who kicked you when you were down will pat you on your back as you move forward because you persevered and you're remarkable. And the case in point is October 1999, 2 months after I won the world championship. I'm in the parking lot of the Supreme Sports Club in Columbia, Maryland, where I work out, as you can tell. And I overheard a familiar raspy voice coming towards me. And I couldn't believe that 18 years after our incident, I was coming face to face with an older Mr. H. And I hadn't seen him in a while. And my heart's beating fast because, you know, he still had that hold on me. And he came walking up to me and he looked at me with those same strange eyes and he said, hey, Craig, how you doing? I said, I'm fine, Mr. H, and how are you? As clearly as I could. He said, I read your articles. I saw you in the newspaper. Brother, that is wonderful what you've been able to accomplish. He said, but Craig, that one article, I can't believe that at the tender age of 10, some man would have the nerve. to call you Daffy Duck. I said, Mr. H, I don't quite know how to tell you this, but it was you. He said, it was me. I said, yeah, you don't even remember? He said, no, Craig, but I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You ever had 18 years of anger? All that stuff started rising up. I couldn't cry, but I couldn't hold back my mouth. And I said, Mr. H, you son of, Mr. H, And then I said, Mr. H, don't apologize. I would not be the world champion. I would not be the speaker. I would not even be the man I am today if you hadn't stopped and confronted me and made me face reality. So I said, Mr. H, thank you. But as far as you not even remembering what you did to me, I think that's despicable. Thank you. It's good to be home. Good to be home. Thank you. Thank you.